Okay, and we're live. So, welcome to the Sovryn Community Call, episode 58, November 2nd, 2023. I'm your host, Englandia, the head of ecosystem growth with Sovryn, the place to be for your Bitcoin DeFi needs. So, today we have on our agenda Bitocracy 3.0, the passings of SIP 47. Um, we have reinstating zero, as well as roadmap for leaving alpha. Um, and I want to kick this off with welcoming Edan Yago to the stage.
Hey Sovrins, this is a big community call. We have been incubating this project towards a high degree of decentralization, and over the last week and a half, Bitocracy came together and voted in some of the most highly engaged and highest degree of consensus SIPs that we've ever seen. High even for the unusually high. Sorry, Englandia. you can move over to my slides. Even for the unusually high level of engagement that we see with Bitocracy, it's over usually. So we had the start of the voting starting on October 20th, and then we had SIP 47 go through its process, then the 4 votes of SIP 46, and the execution of moving the guardianship and the ownership of the smart contracts to Bitocracy. So, while we have always, I think, behaved faithfully, Englandia, while we have always behaved faithfully to the concept of Bitocracy, it is now enshrined in something far better than human law. It is enshrined in programmatic law, which is the next evolution of law. Rules without rulers. And Sovryn has embraced this beyond just a concept now. It is a programmatic reality. So, big shout out to everyone here on the call, everyone who participated, and everyone who helped deliver this, everyone who has persevered to bring us to this point. And it's an extremely proud moment, I expect, for all of us. It also marks a significant milestone in terms of the maturity of the project and our ability now to start much more aggressively pursuing phase 2. So phase 1 has always been about incubating the project as a DeFi project, bringing Sovryn to the forefront of Bitcoin DeFi. Not only the forefront now of usage and TVL, the forefront of the scope of the applications available, but also now in terms of the level of decentralization, Sovryn is unparalleled. And with that, we now need to begin to look towards 2 big pieces of work. And this too will take time, and we will continue to execute in the same way on an iterative basis, learning as we go. And the 2 big things that we're going to be looking for now is we need to take the lessons of the past, and we need to use that as an opportunity, as a jumping off point, to establish greater growth and bring more developers to be building around Sovryn, more users to be introduced to the concept of sovereignty, and make it easier for people who have Bitcoin to use their Bitcoin without middlemen, and for people who don't have Bitcoin yet to figure out why they should. And in addition to that, to make that possible, we need an ecosystem equal to what the Sovryn applications are able to provide in terms of trustlessness, in terms of security, in terms of decentralization. And so I think that's what this year is going to be marked by. This year will be the year in which we lay the groundwork for phase 2 and begin that work. And I think very appropriately, this is coming also at a time when Bitcoin itself is turning its eyes towards growth once more. So we're going to talk about this a lot, and there's going to be a lot of different components that go into this. But today I'd like to focus on 2. The first, and this is the next slide, is zero. So during the course of the last winter, we have not wasted the winter that we're still in. And we've decentralized, we've increased security, we've made it easier to develop, we developed the SDK, we've improved the UI. We also ran 2 very important experiments. The first was perps. Perps worked really well. It was, by most metrics, the most performant perpetual market that had been created. And I think even now, if you look at the capital efficiency available in the perps system developed, it is better than any other alternative out there, with the possible exception of order book based ones. But we were not able to launch it on rootstock, and so ultimately we were forced to make the difficult decision not to continue investment in that at the time. The second experiment that we ran was supposed to be related to perps. One of the big motivators for perps was the ability to create a stablecoin based on, or rather a input into Sovryn Mint, which would use perpetual futures to create Bitcoin stability. The other big input to the Sovryn Mint and to the Sovryn dollar was zero. And zero proved extremely powerful in terms of user acquisition and a very powerful tool for people to use. And demand for originations outstripped demand for the Sovryn dollar. This is not news to most of you, I would imagine. But for the last few months, we have been primarily focused in Dapp 2.0, the SDK, and more than anything else, in the decentralization process. We're now in a position where we have the ability to review resources, review our deployment of resources, and where we're going to be placing our focus. And one of the key things is zero. So, what do we need to do to move zero forwards? And is this going to be the right focus for our resources? So I'll point out that this is a complicated matter. There is perhaps no more difficult challenge than building a truly decentralized stablecoin. And this is evidenced by the fact that no one's managed to do it yet. But it is an extremely important thing for us to accomplish. So there's going to be debate around what the timing and the resources we should deploy around this are. But I want to present a roadmap to what moving zero forwards could look like and how we could achieve it potentially should we make that decision over the coming months. There are 7 key aspects here, but the first 2 I think are the most important. The first is that we have to institute a clear, what I'm going to call debt ceiling ratios. In other words, we have to have clear idea of when we would believe that liquidity and an potential imbalance in demand and supply is emerging, so that instead of letting it run its course, we would nip it in the bud. This is something that we failed to do, despite multiple discussions. For months, we had weekly conversations around the process of increasing origination fees. And I think we reacted slowly because we didn't have in advance clear criteria for how we would go make the decisions. We're now smarter and we've learned a great deal, which I think is the advantage of the iterative process. But this would be the first thing that we have to do. The second thing is we have to clarify the risk of lines of credit. There is an inevitability to zero around redemptions. And the reason for that inevitability is that the stability mechanism of zero itself relies on the ability to redeem for Bitcoin, making sure that the peg is tight regardless of any mismatch between supply and demand. For that reason, we, I think, have to make sure that the current line of credit holders recognize that the risk of redemptions is ever present, and there's really nothing we can do because it is a fundamental aspect of zero. And so line of credit holders should be looking to manage that risk. And for new users, we need to clarify that risk going forward. Now, in terms of product and process around the next 5 aspects, we've been very excited to see the effectiveness of the Babelfish incentive curves. Babelfish incentive curves were a theoretical concept until about a month and a half ago. We knew that they should work in theory, but we didn't know whether the work that Babelfish had done would actually work. And what we've seen is that Babelfish incentive curves, while not as efficient as like the theoretical optimum curve might be, are extremely effective and efficient at creating a marketplace for sovereign dollar to other stablecoins, and as a result, providing liquidity to those who would like to move from sovereign dollar into Tether or USDC. This means that we should be looking to introduce similar type of incentive curves into Mint. And if we do that, we will have significantly improved the market incentives, created a market with clear incentives around sovereign dollar. We also should be looking to reduce the redemption fee. The redemption fee should be reduced to provide market makers and other market participants who would like to hold sovereign dollars, be this treasuries or just regular users, with the knowledge that at any time they can, with a low fee, materialize the value of their sovereign dollars into Bitcoin. Right now, we've provided more of a gap around the redemption fee. It is wider than initially envisioned, and this is to slow redemptions, but I think we need to wean ourselves off of that. 6, on and off ramp improvements will make it much easier for people to use their sovereign dollars as dollars, and that, of course, is a fundamental requirement for us to be able to establish the utility of sovereign dollars as a dollar-like currency. And 7 is borrowing and lending. The borrowing and lending curves are an incredibly useful part of the sovereign ecosystem. And now that we've better established D2 and the ability to more rapidly iterate on D2, there's the opportunity for us to focus more on allowing people to borrow and lend sovereign dollars, turn sovereign dollars into a yield-bearing asset, and also have a way to potentially kickstart the growth and utility of sovereign dollars around this particular use case, which is what we've seen in the past. So USDC and DAI both saw their primary first use case being around acquiring those stablecoins with the express purpose of purchasing primarily ETH, so that users had a way to lever up on their ETH. Every sovereign dollar borrowed in this way generates more than one additional sovereign dollar in the lending pool, as well as generating yield for those lenders. It is very hard to kickstart that kind of market during bear markets. But if, as it appears, we are currently on the long path towards new, perhaps all-time highs for Bitcoin, it will be much easier for us to attract users around that use case. As I mentioned at the beginning, stablecoins are a difficult challenge, and cracking it will not. Even here, you see there's no silver bullet, and so while I am confident that this is something we can move towards over the coming months, I wouldn't expect that we're going to achieve, complete success with any thing like introducing Babel curves and mint incentive curves. And so I bring us back to point number one, instituting a clear set of policies around how we're going to manage the liquidity risk around this asset, making it easier for us to come to decisions as we examine the behavior. If we can go on to the next slide, please. There are a few other things here which we are expecting to be delivering over the course of the coming months. One is RFQ trading. We've discussed this a few times in the past, so I won't belabor the point, but this should substantially improve the ability to trade by massively reducing slippage. Dapp 2.0 and deprecating Dapp Alpha. We are now at a point where we're very close to where we would like to be in terms of providing all of the key features that we would like to support that already exist in Dapp Alpha in Dapp 2.0. This puts us in a position to start deprecating Dapp Alpha. And so tentatively we've set March 31st, 2024 as the last day in which we would continue to maintain Dapp Alpha. That doesn't mean that Dapp Alpha will go away, but it means that we are looking for an opportunity to to basically stop actively maintaining it. No decision has been made there yet, but that is the current anticipation. Bitocracy improvements, most specifically around the ability to more efficiently withdraw earnings from Bitocracy, are extremely important. The way Bitocracy works right now with its multiple checkpoints is gas inefficient and is making it expensive to withdraw for some users. Best practice is to periodically withdraw the rewards that you are earning from SOV staking, but we want to make it easier for everyone to do that. Mint incentive curve I already discussed, and there's also been ongoing work around the NBTE bridge. What is the NBTE bridge? The new Bitcoin token economy bridge. We're seeing more and more protocols emerging for tokens on Bitcoin, and so part of the Fast BTC team, who have built an astounding piece of technology in terms of, it's managed many tens of, or if not hundreds of millions of dollars worth of transactions with complete security as Fast BTC, have been looking to extend the capability of Fast BTC to allow for these kinds of tokens to be bridged in and out of Sovryn and of Rootstock. So these are some of the core things that we're looking towards delivering on the Dapp. We'll continue to update you guys as this work unfolds. And with that, I'd like to hand the conversation over to Aurora.
Sorry, I'm just chiming in before the dev update starts because the dev update is going to be done by light. I would just want to take the opportunity to address some comments which I saw on the channels. One of them was a concern that I might be leaving Sovryn. The reason for that is probably that I missed the last community call and have been less active on the Discord in the past few weeks. However, I would like to assure you that I'm not leaving Sovryn. I am still involved and will continue to be involved, but I am reducing the intensity for now. This means also that other team members are getting the chance to take up some more responsibilities. Above all, Tyrone. I also saw someone mentioning that without Aurora, Sovryn isn't sovereign. And this is the exact opposite of what I want to build. We must build something that does not rely on personalities and leaders, but belongs to us all and is driven by all. In the past, I asked you several times to not trust me, nor any other community member. Of course, I'm flattered by the trust you put in me, but you really shouldn't. You should not trust me. The wonderful thing about Sovryn is that you do not need to trust anyone. The only thing that matters is the code, and the code you can verify. So now, finally, all our different smart contracts are actively and directly governed by Bitocracy. That's a major milestone in decentralization. From now on, no changes to the code can be introduced without a SIP. All of us will be able to verify the changes and vote on them. All of us are responsible. Which is why I think that now is the perfect moment for me to take some more time for myself and my family. And regarding leaders, a lot of people speak about me or Iago or Light or Soulbit as if we are supposed to be the leaders in charge of Sovryn. But that is a complete misunderstanding of what we are building and the way we operate. Take Iago, for example. He has shown a lot of leadership. How? By taking initiative, thinking deeply, and working hard, and mostly by listening to others and learning from them. He doesn't lead by issuing orders or taking unilateral decisions, and Sovryn nobody does. That's why I love Sovryn and will always be a Sovryn. So these were just the things I wanted to clarify. Thanks.
Aurora, thanks for the kind words.
Let's go. You can go to the next slide. Thank you very much. Hey folks, this is Light. Here's this month's development updates. So a couple of months ago, we published a blog post on the Sovryn blog about the roadmap for leaving alpha. And we shared this graphic that showed each of the steps along the process, the milestones along the process that we decided a long time ago that we would like to hit before we consider Sovryn ready to drop the alpha label that it has been wearing since the very beginning of the project. So just to recap, those milestones include bidirectional fast BTC, which we shipped, system-wide contract security audit, which we completed over a year and a half ago, improved onboarding experience, which we had did the initial work on in the Sovryn Alpha app, and then continued to build on those improvements in the new Sovryn.app web app. Lending curves update, which we did about a year and a half ago, launching Bitocracy 3.0, which is the most recent milestone that we hit, just completed 2 days ago. Congrats to the whole community for reaching that milestone. And now the very last milestone that we have is to finish re-implementing the core features in Sovryn.app. So bringing over the core features that we want to preserve from Sovryn Alpha into the new Sovryn.app. And we are on the home stretch here, folks. So let's zoom in on this particular milestone. Next slide, please. So here are the features that we have identified as the core features that we wanted to re-implement in Sovryn.app. AMM swaps, we finished that, integrated that into the convert page, which is now the main landing page on Sovryn.app. Staking and staking rewards, we implemented that this past summer. Lending and borrowing, we've finished that. And creating and voting on proposals, which we were just able to finish shortly before the votes on Bitocracy 3.0. So now we have a new Bitocracy page where you can see the past votes and vote on live proposals. And we will be coming out with a proposal creator feature in the next major release, which I'll discuss in the development updates coming up in the next few slides. So the last couple of features that we would like to re-implement in Sovryn.app that we're still working on or still have left to do on the roadmap here are an interface for market making that is becoming a liquidity provider in the AMM, as well as being able to claim any liquidity mining rewards earned from participating as a market maker, and then expanding our existing funding modal to include cross-chain bridging for Ethereum, BSC, and other bridges that we want to integrate with. Right now, that interface currently exists in the Babelfish web app, and we want to bring some of that capability back into Sovryn so that users can directly on and off ramp from other chains using stablecoins and other assets directly within the Sovryn application. So those are the last two items that we have to finish here before we can consider this last milestone of re-implementing the core features in Sovryn.app complete. But like I said, we are working on the market making interface, and then once we have the new bridges between Rootstock and the other blockchains, then we'll be able to finish the cross-chain bridging project as well. Next slide, please. So moving on to overview of the recent developments and upcoming developments, zooming in a little bit. For some recent releases on Sovryn.app, we simplified staking rewards claiming on the rewards page so that users can claim rewards with a single button click. If claiming rewards would require more than a full block's worth of gas, then you might need to click this button more than once. But for each reward, to claim each asset that is available as a staking reward, you now only have to click one button rather than a button for each individual asset. So trying to simplify the user experience there, make that easier for folks. We, as I mentioned earlier, we also made the convert page the new landing page. Previously it was 0, but because the origination fee rate is now 99%, effectively the creating a new line of credit has been disabled in the user interface. We wanted to shift focus to product that was fully usable, and looking at the Dapp usage, convert is the most popular thing that people are using right now, so it made sense to make this the landing page. We also removed third-party analytics. That doesn't mean that we're not tracking user activities. It just means that your usage of the Sovryn.app as well as alpha.sovryn.app is no longer being sent to third parties like Google or Cloudflare for their analytics systems. Instead, we are just monitoring those stats directly in-house, looking at the blockchain and our own first-party website traffic statistics. Over on alpha.sovryn.app, we recently had a bug disclosed through our Immunify bug bounty program. Thank you to the security researcher who reported that bug related to the limit order system. And as a result of that, we had to pause the limit orders settlement contract to prevent that bug from being exploited. And shortly after the limit order settlement contract was paused, we were able to update that smart contract and re-enable withdrawing from the limit order settlement contract. So if you had RBTC in the limit order settlement contract because you had open RBTC limit orders, now you're able to withdraw that RBTC from the contract. And then the last thing to talk about here, which Iago mentioned earlier, and we've talked about a couple of times already, is the Bitocracy 3.0 transition. This took up a lot of bandwidth from the smart contract team over the last couple of months as they've been getting all of the pieces in place to make that a successful transition. And we're happy to report that everything went according to plan for the Bitocracy 3.0 transition. So all of that hard work paid off, and a big congrats to the team for the success there. Next slide, please. So soon to release on Sovryn.app, we have the Bitocracy proposal creator. So if you have a wallet connected to Sovryn.app and the address that is connected has enough voting power to be able to create a proposal, then you'll see a button on the Bitocracy page that says new proposal or create proposal, where you can click that button and create a new Bitocracy proposal right there in the user interface. We tried to make the user interface as user-friendly as possible so that you don't necessarily need to be a developer to be able to create a new proposal that will result directly in an on-chain change to the sovereign smart contracts. We want to try to give as much power to the sovereign stakers and lower those barriers to participation as much as we can. And so hopefully this empowers individual stakers as well as delegates to take a more active role in the governance of the system now that Bitocracy has full control of the smart contracts. So expect to see that update coming out next week. And then we are also working on an updated wallet connection modal, taking a lot of the feedback that we've received since launching the new Sovryn.app earlier this year and trying to make the onboarding process even more intuitive and simple, user-friendly for new users and existing users when they're connecting their wallets on Sovryn.app. Next slide, please. And finally, work in progress, things that are a little bit further out, but coming down the pipe. We've got Sovryn.app, new market making or AMM liquidity provider interface. Currently, you can trade using the convert page for swapping using the AMM, but we do not yet have the interface for becoming a market maker or providing liquidity to those AMM pools in Sovryn.app. So soon we're going to have a market making page where you can do that, and you won't have to go to Sovryn Alpha anymore to become a market maker on the supported pools for the pools that are supported in Sovryn.app. We're also working on AirSwap RFQ, that is request for quote integration. This will be a new path on the convert page where users will be able to route their trades through AirSwap's request for quote system if that system provides the best quotes for the pair that the user is trading on. So as you may be aware, the convert page has a feature that's called the smart router, which is actually looking at multiple different routes where your trade could be routed, and then it is grabbing the route that is offering the best price and then offering that to you to either accept or decline. And For this feature, we're just adding AirSwap RFQ as another route that could be selected if it offers you the best price. What this also means is that if you're a market maker, you're a little bit more sophisticated. It's not as easy as becoming an LP on the AMM, just clicking a button and dropping some tokens into a smart contract. But if you have the ability to set up a server and connect it to the smart contract, then you can become an AirSwap market maker, and you can start providing quotes and compete against other routes that could be offered for those pairs to provide liquidity to trades that happen through the convert page. So we'll have some information coming out about this as we get closer to launching the integration. If anybody in the community is interested in becoming a market maker for the pairs that we're going to be looking to source quotes from. And then finally, the smart contract and front end development teams are working on enabling mint redemptions to fulfill the sunsetting mint SIP that was approved by SOV stakers earlier this year. This is something that has been put on the back burner a little for a while because of the work that on Bitocracy 3.0. But now that that launch is behind us, we can turn our attention to finally implementing that SIP and providing mint holders that interface to convert mint back into SOV and rejoin the SOV economy. So those are the developments that we have as works in progress, and you'll be hearing more about in the coming weeks. And that concludes the development updates. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, John. Very, very in-depth. French Victory, are you there?
Yes, thank you, Ingolandia. It's next slide, please. It's a brief update about ongoing efforts in adoption. Essentially, we're trying to raise a new budget from IOV for marketing activities. Where previous budget we've received from them were $3,000 for the pilot competition, if you guys remember, and then we received a large budget of $15,000 for the profit and loss trading competitions. Both of these budgets were dedicated to rewards for the traders. We used some of that money for influencer marketing in order to drive registration, and that worked quite well. I think around 30% of registrations to the competitions were from these marketing activities, the influencer marketing. Now we're seeking a much larger budget of $210,000 for 3 months of marketing activities. Now, our goal with this is to onboard, well, it says 10x, but to onboard a few hundreds, if not 1,000 users onto Sovryn with the focus on staking. Now, the path we were currently intend to go is a combination of PR, of influencer marketing and display ads, which will present the advantages of the staking on Sovryn to entirely new audiences, the audiences that do not know Sovryn and do not know Rootstock, and that will combine first of all a branding effort, and then also a value effort to emphasize to these new audiences that they have there's money to be made with the SOV, staking SOV. That's it for me.
We can open this up to questions, and I know we have some already in the chat. So I'll just read aloud, even though Light answered it. Lecterius asked, what will happen to margin trading? So the short answer is right now we're not looking to move margin and spot trading immediately to Dapp 2.0, but we will be hosting it for the time being, and we'll let you know in advance if we plan to no longer host the spot and margin trading on Dapp 1.0. MetaMask asked, hey Yago, is there a single staking assets like staking dollar and earning SOV? So I know that you can stake dollar and earn interest in the lending pools. Whether you can earn SOV also, can anybody else answer that?
Yes, so you can currently earn SOV with sovereign dollars in the stability pool. And that provides a flat yield of 5% annualized right now in SOV, on top of the regular earnings of the stability pool, which can be significantly higher than that and are paid out effectively in BTC.
So Unicum asks French Victory, what does IOV Labs want to get out of this new marketing investment? Because it's hefty money that they're putting into this. Please shed light on that, French.
Sure. Unicom also asks that if they're full-on partnering with Sovryn, or this is just a way of boosting Rootstock chain activity. So the latter is true. They are interested in increasing transactions on their chain. They want to see more activity. They want to be able to show to their interested party that Rootstock is happening, and they are willing to put the dollars behind that. So they're expecting to see thousands of transactions happening on Rootstock as a result of this marketing activity.
I'd also like to point out that this wasn't easy. There was a lot of work that went into this from French Victory, from Armando, from Englandia, and from myself. It only took us about 2.5 years to persuade them that Sovryn was the largest protocol on Rootstock, and that it might be worthwhile for us to work together. We're still working out some of the kinks in that relationship. But I will say that I think we've seen a significant shift in thinking around Sovryn and Rootstock more generally at IOV. And we are hopeful that this will not only continue but accelerate.
Absolutely. I'll add that the sentiment, as I received it in IOV regarding this budget, is positive. We've discussed the details and the breakdown of how this will be paid out. And I hope to have a final answer of this in the next couple of weeks.
All right, big shout out to French Victory for leading that. So yeah, I don't know if most people know this, but IOV Labs does, there is they do get a business benefit from the more transactions that happen on the Rootstock chain. So it works out for them as well. So Travis Trades asked, didn't we already have dynamic fees for zero put in place before zero originations were halted?
Yes, the answer is yes, but let's make a clear distinction here. The way zero is just the way zero currently exists, there are dynamic fees which increase both the redemption fee and the origination fee. I'm gonna simplify, I hope not too much, but basically as more redemptions occur, the fees of both increase. This is not adequate. And we've seen that it's not adequate, not just in Zero, but also in Liquidity and the many other projects that have attempted to create this type of product. And so the intention here is to create a different kind of curve, which is responsive not to redemptions, but to available liquidity. And Babelfish have demonstrated that this works in the Babelfish curve, where if there is more demand for, let's say, USDC, then there will be a larger reward for depositing USDC. And a lot of users have already started to take advantage of this, depositing USDC or USDT, or identifying which stablecoins they can make the most money by depositing. And it will also contrary-wise to that, charge a fee if there is more demand to deposit sovereign dollars. And so this provides a mechanism via which those who wish to swap their sovereign dollars for another stablecoin are able to do so at a market price rather than what was previously the situation, a price of zero. Same thing can be instituted in Mint, where it would be a question of the desired weight of sovereign dollars versus, for example, DOC. So this would be an additional overlay, responsive rather than to redemptions, to available liquidity, and therefore incentivizing and encouraging additional liquidity. We're going to devote a lot of time to discuss this over the course of the coming month and then beyond that. So I won't go into too much detail here. As you guys are probably aware, we've both done R&D and implementation work around optimistic rollups. We've done a lot of research into the theoretical aspects of ZK rollups to Bitcoin. And John has written probably the most important document available, or the most important white paper, so to speak, available on the subject, and is required reading, I would think, for anyone who is interested in the topic. So first of all, I encourage you guys to take a look at the work of John Light. The opportunity now is to take that knowledge and turn it to development. And this is not something that we would look to do on our own for two reasons. First of all, it requires a large number of different skill sets, some of which currently exist within Sovryn developer community and some of which do not. But beyond that, this needs to be a broader effort. This is upgrading Bitcoin, basically. It's the upgrade to Bitcoin. And it needs to be viewed as an effort of the Bitcoin community, not just of Sovryn. One that is very important to Sovryn, because it will allow us to be more sovereign, to have the ability to deploy systems optimized in ways which we currently can't. An excellent example of that is perps. And because it opens up new opportunities for SOV stakers and additional revenue. And I think will reflect very powerfully also on the standing, branding, and perceived value of Sovryn as a whole. But it is, as you guys are aware, we can't ever talk about partnerships or collaborations, especially with companies, because they are not decentralized. And so they get to have, decision or to make decisions about when they want to reveal various things. Yes, I think we have basically had conversations with pretty much every single person in the world right now who is significantly engaged in this effort.
Yeah. So stay tuned. I think that when it comes to scaling and evolving Bitcoin, no one thinks bigger than Sovryn. We're a small team, but we have lots of big ideas for the future of Bitcoin. So shout out to us. DJ on Philly asked, when will the ability to view the portfolio be added to D2?
TBD.
MetaMask, ask when you guys.
I'll just so John gave a very laconic answer. It's true that no date has been set, but it is something that we're, especially the front end and the product team are actively engaged in. It's being currently defined and spec'd out. I think it would be really cool to hear from you guys. What are the key pieces of data that you would like to see? What would be useful? How would you like to see it different from how it is in Dapp Alpha? And for us to have some opportunity to do some user testing as well. But it's not being forgotten or ignored.
All right, thanks for expanding. When you guys say cross-chain, will it include Stacks chain?
England, yeah, maybe you should talk to that.
Well, I don't know if you remember, but we have announced that Bitflow, which is they're planning to be like the Curve of the Stacks ecosystem. They are in the process of building a bridge from Stacks to Rootstock, and they should be on testnet soon, I believe this year. And yeah, they're planning some pools that will have one of Sovryn's main assets when that bridge goes live. So stay tuned and be ready. So we have about 8 minutes left. Do we have more questions from the Sovryn community? This is your chance.
Can I say?
Yep.
Can I say something real quick? This is Travis. I just want to say thank you so much to Aurora and the whole team, but to Aurora for one, just addressing what was going on in the chats, and then two, just for all the contributions she's given to Sovryn and all hard work. It's just much appreciated. So thank you.
Oh, thanks.
Yes, big shout outs to Aurora. Do we have any more comments or questions from our fellow Sovryns? I do see some people typing in the chat, showing a lot of love to the team. We greatly appreciate it. Shout outs to you for staying active, for showing up to these calls and getting the juice, because we're always building and shipping. All right, so if we don't have any more questions, perhaps I'll close out the recording and say thanks to everyone who showed up. It was a great turnout today. A lot of exciting things ahead for us and going into the new year. So stay sovereign, everybody. I'm going to hit stop on the record and feel free to hang out. I'll hang out for a few more minutes, but this community call episode 58 has been adjourned. So stay sovereign, everybody.
Stay sovereign.